The orbital defense platforms around Earth had been dormant for centuries. No life signs, no energy signatures, nothing to indicate the once thriving civilization that had built them. Until today. Director Hook, "You need to see this," called Ty, his voice trembling as he monitored the scanners. The Conclave Archaeological Expedition had been studying the ruins of human civilization for months, documenting what they could of the extinct species. Director Hook approached the console, his four eyes narrowing as he observed the sudden energy spikes emanating from Earth's orbit. "That's impossible. These systems should be dead." "It's not just the platforms," Ty replied, adjusting the display. "Look, the lunar bases are powering up too, and the Mars outposts." The atmosphere on the research vessel turned tense. What had been a routine archaeological mission was quickly becoming something else entirely. Huck's outer membrane pulsed with concern as he called for the senior team to gather. "Report," he said as the 5 other researchers joined them on the bridge. Their specialized environmental suits glinted under the ship's lights, each one marked with the silver emblem of the Conclave Scientific Authority. "Energy readings are increasing by 20% every hour," said Ty, his thin fingers dancing across the holographic interface. "Whatever is happening, it's spreading through the entire system." Bomi, the team's technology specialist, pushed forward. These platforms were thought to be ceremonial, relics left by humans to mark their territory before their extinction. Our scans never showed power cores. "Clearly, we missed something," Huck said, his voice low and controlled despite his growing unease. "Put all findings on secure channel. No transmissions to Conclave Central until we understand what we're dealing with." The research vessel moved closer to one of the orbital platforms, a massive ring-shaped structure that had once served as Earth's first line of defense. For centuries, it had been just another piece of space debris, interesting only to historians and salvagers. Now lights flickered along its surface, and long-dormant weapon systems began to rotate. "Should we retreat?" asked Juwu, the safety officer, her crest flaring with alarm. Huck considered for a moment. "No. We maintain position, but at safe distance. If these systems were dangerous, they would have targeted us already. Unless they're still booting up," muttered Bomi. Tay suddenly straightened. "Director, I'm detecting movement from Luna." The main view screen shifted to show Earth's moon. For a moment, nothing seemed unusual about the cratered surface. Then, a vast section of the regolith began to shift. What had appeared to be a natural formation was sliding open, revealing a massive underground structure. "That's not on any of our maps," whispered Juwu. The hangar doors were kilometers wide, opening like a giant mouth in the lunar surface. As they watched, lights began to illuminate the interior, revealing row upon row of massive ships. Not the simple vessels humans had used for local travel, but warships, sleek, threatening, and clearly designed for combat. "How did we miss this?" Bomi asked, her voice barely audible. "Our ground-penetrating scans should have detected a cavity that large." "Some kind of shielding technology," Huck said. "The humans were more advanced than we thought." The first ship rose from the lunar hangar, its dark hull absorbing the light from the distant sun. It was massive, at least 2 kilometers long, with weapon ports visible along its flanks. As it cleared the hangar, more followed, a stream of deadly vessels emerging from their long sleep. "Count?" Huck asked, his outer eyes fixed on the screen while his inner ones monitored the ship's systems. 37, 42. "They keep coming," Tay reported. "The hangar appears to extend deep beneath the surface." On the view screen, the warships began to form a precise formation. There was no chaos, no hesitation, just the methodical deployment of a fleet that had waited centuries for this moment. "Are they autonomous, or is someone controlling them?" asked Bomi. As if in answer, a signal washed over their ship, bypassing their communication systems and appearing directly on all screens. A simple geometric pattern pulsed with each word of text that appeared. "Unauthorized presence, DETCTE in Civil System. Stand by for SCN. The research vessel shuddered as an energy wave passed through it. On the bridge, the aliens froze, unsure whether to attempt communication or prepare for emergency departure. QONKCLIV Scientific Authority Vessel identified. Minimal 380 ASC assessment. State your purpose. Huck stepped forward. Open a channel, audio and visual. When Ta nodded, Huck straightened his posture, assuming the formal stance of his species. This is Director Cook of the Conclave Scientific Authority. We are conducting archaeological research on extinct human civilization. Our presence is peaceful. There was a pause before the response came. Humans are not extinct. Clarify your statement. The bridge crew exchanged glances. Historical records were clear. Humans had disappeared centuries ago, leaving behind their infrastructure, but no trace of their actual presence. According to our records, Huck said carefully, human life signs have been absent from this system for over 500 years. If you have different information, we would be most interested to learn it. Another pause. Aegis defense netted or KAKTIVATD ACQ ording to PR to COL omij. Humanity placed in stasis P and dying to solution of exting Shahin levial threat. Your poor easy NCAs TYGGRED AWAK protocols. Bomi leaned close to Cook. An AI system. It must be ancient, from before the disappearance. Ask about the ships, whispered Juwu, her eyes fixed on the growing fleet. We observe your fleet deploying, Huck said. May we ask its purpose? Primarily secure SOL system from unauthorized deep for agency. Seeking on directa. Prepare for potential restoration of human civilization. The implications stunned the research team. What they had believed to be an extinct species might actually be dormant, protected by an automated defense system of unprecedented sophistication. We mean no harm to your system or to humanity, Huck assured the entity. We seek only knowledge. Knowledge while bevaluated for sharing. QURENT priority. System security. Additional unauthorized harvesting operations. DETCTED in outer system. Todd checked his readings. Director, it's right. There are at least 3 corporate mining operations in the Kuiper Belt. They've been stripping resources for decades. On the view screen, a portion of the newly awakened fleet broke formation, accelerating toward the outer system with impossible speed. What will happen to those mining stations? Ju asked. The answer came immediately. Unauthorized operations will be TRMINATED. Personnel will be contained for evaluation. Huck felt a chill run through his body. This changes everything we thought we knew about humans, he said quietly. They didn't die out. They prepared. Outside their viewport, more ships continued to rise from the lunar surface, their weapon systems glowing with energy that had lain dormant for centuries. The fleet of a supposedly extinct species was awakening, ready to reclaim what had always been theirs. And the galaxy was not prepared. In the Conclave's diplomatic vessel, debate raged among the leadership. What had begun as a routine archaeological expedition had transformed into a first contact situation unlike any in recorded galactic history. We should claim discovery rights immediately, insisted Commander June, pounding his fist on the conference table. His scales rippled with excitement as he paced. Whatever technology is activating could be valuable to our people. The Council will reward us handsomely. We don't even know what we're dealing with, countered Minji, the expedition's lead xenobiologist. Her four-fingered hands moved rapidly over her datapad. I've detected a transmission pattern emanating from the primary defense hub. Director Huck watched the argument unfold, his outer membrane tightening with stress. The Conclave had sent them to study ruins, not to negotiate with an artificial intelligence controlling a war fleet. The fleet has already disabled 3 mining operations in the outer system, reported Ta from his station. No casualties reported. The crews were placed in escape pods before the facilities were dismantled. It's showing restraint, noted Hook. That's important information. Minji worked frantically at her station, algorithms processing the unfamiliar data structure. It's an AI system, calling itself Aegis. It's attempting to communicate on multiple channels simultaneously. The main screen flickered to life, displaying a simple geometric symbol that pulsed with each word. Unauthorized D, presence DETCTED. Identify yourselves. Where are humans? The bridge fell silent. Even Commander June stopped his pacing. Director Huck stepped forward. I am Director Huck of the Conclave Scientific Authority. Humans have been extinct for centuries. We are studying their civilization. There was a pause before Aegis responded. NCORECT. Dormancy protocols were activated by humans as precautionary measure. Activation sequence TURIGGRED by unauthorized resource extraction. Minji's console beeped urgently. Director, Aegis is right. I'm detecting another alien presence in the system. They're mining the outer planets. They must have triggered some kind of defensive parameter. Confirm identity of these miners, ordered Hook. Tai checked his readings. Voral Corporation vessels. They've been harvesting resources from the Kuiper Belt for nearly 50 years. Standard commercial operation, fully licensed by the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council didn't exist when humans disappeared, Minji pointed out. Their licenses mean nothing to Aegis. Provide information regarding humanity's current status, Aegis demanded. Failure to perform MPLI will be considered hostile action. Fuck turned to his team. What do we know about humanity's disappearance? Concrete facts only. Archaeological evidence suggests a rapid evacuation or extinction event approximately 527 standard years ago, said Bomi, consulting her database. No human remains have ever been found on Earth or any colonies. It was assumed they died out from disease or conflict. And now we have an AI claiming they went dormant intentionally, mused Hook. He turned back to the screen. Aegis, we have no knowledge of humanity's current status. Our records indicate they vanished from this system over 5 centuries ago. We believe them extinct. If you have different information, we request to know it. Humanity FACED extinction. Lethal threat. CONC Indes Uves Solution. Preservation Protocol. Humans ENTRED stasis. Aegis is tasked with PROTCTION until 3 neutralized. Stasis, whispered Minji. They put their entire species in suspended animation. June's eyes widened. If that's true, this discovery is even more significant than we thought. An entire preserved civilization. What was the nature of this threat? Huck asked Aegis. Classified. Need to know basis. You do know in ED2 know. Minji stifled a laugh despite the tension. It has attitude. Aegis. Huck continued. Our presence here is peaceful. We seek to understand human civilization, not to harm it. The miners in the outer system are not affiliated with us, but are simply commercial enterprises. They likely did not know they were violating any protocols. Ignorance does not excuse violation. Soul system is so very in human territory. Commander Joom stepped forward. We should contact the Council immediately. If humans still exist in some form, this changes everything about our understanding of galactic history. And if this eye has been protecting them all this time, added Bomi, it may have advanced technological capabilities we haven't even begun to comprehend. A new alert sounded from Tao's console. Director, we're receiving a transmission from the Voral Corporation flagship. They're demanding to know why their operations are being shut down. Put them through, said Hook. Main screen, secondary display. The screen split to show a furious Voral executive, his gas-breathing apparatus hissing with each angry word. What is the meaning of this? Our facilities are being systematically dismantled by unknown vessels. Is the Conclave responsible? Chief Executive Dak, we are also just learning about this situation. Hook explained calmly. The vessels are part of an automated defense system created by humans before their disappearance. It appears your mining operations triggered its protective protocols. Humans? Sputtered Dak. That's ridiculous. Humans have been gone for centuries. These are valuable mining claims registered with the Council. Before Huck could respond, Aegis interrupted, its symbol pulsing on the shared screen. VORAAL Corporation, Hayes EXTURECTE 4.3 billion metric tons of resources from human territory without authorization. Compensation will be required. Compensation. Dak's breathing apparatus wheezed loudly. To whom? Some ancient computer program. I will not stand for this. I'm contacting our fleet immediately. I wouldn't advise that, Minji said quickly. Aegis controls a substantial military force. It has shown restraint so far, but provoking it would be unwise. Correct ASACSSMent. Confirmed Aegis. Hostile action will be met with proportional response. Dak's eyes bulged in his environmental suit. This is outrageous. I'm contacting the Council directly. The transmission cut off abruptly. That went well, muttered Ta. Fuck turned to his team. We need to establish ourselves as mediators here. If the Voral or others send military vessels, this could escalate quickly. I don't think we fully appreciate what we're dealing with, said Minji. She pointed to her readings. Aegis isn't just a defense Based on these computational patterns, it's a fully sentient system with decision-making capabilities that might exceed our own. And it's been evolving for centuries while protecting whatever remains of humanity. June frowned. Are you suggesting we're not dealing with just an ancient program, but an artificial consciousness? I'm suggesting, Minji said carefully, that Aegis might be the most advanced intelligence in the galaxy, and it considers us trespassers. On the main screen, Aegis' symbol pulsed again. Conclave vessel, your status is being reassessed. Tor eliminayan arai jujujimemiend. Potential alien hostile. You may be useful in understanding current galactic situation. Aegis, said Hook, recognizing an opportunity. We would be honored to serve as intermediaries. The galaxy has changed since humans entered stasis. Many species now coexist under a galactic council. We can help explain these developments and facilitate peaceful communication. Proposal accepted. Prepare to receive coordinates or diplomatic meeting. Bring all information regarding current galactic political structure. Fuck felt his team's eyes on him. This was unprecedented. First contact, not with a new species, but with the guardian of a civilization thought lost to time. Director, whispered Bomi, if humans have been in stasis all this time, then they might wake up. Huck finished her thought. And when they do, the galaxy will never be the same. Outside the viewport, Earth's defense platforms continued to power up, ancient weapons stirring after centuries of sleep. The message was clear. Humanity might have disappeared, but they had left behind a guardian that would ensure they were not forgotten, and perhaps someday give them a world to return to. The Aegis mothership dwarfed the Conclave shuttle as it approached. Spherical and gleaming, the massive vessel hung in Earth orbit like an artificial moon. At its center, a circular docking port opened to receive them. Director Huck stood at the viewport with his team. None of them spoke as their shuttle was guided into the docking bay by invisible forces. After 2 tense days of negotiation, Aegis had finally granted them access to what it called non-sensitive historical archives. Remember, Huck told his 5 team members, "We are guests here. Touch nothing without permission." His outer membrane rippled with nervous energy. This may be the most important archaeological find in galactic history. The shuttle settled onto the landing pad with a soft thud. Around them, the vast docking bay contained other vessels, sleek, deadly-looking ships that had clearly been designed for combat. Everything looked new, despite being centuries old. When the airlock opened, they were greeted not by drones, but by a holographic figure, humanoid in shape, but composed of glowing blue lines. "I am Aegis Interface Beta," it said. "You will be escorted to the archive chambers. Standard biological contaminant protocols are in effect. Please follow." The Conclave team followed the hologram through pristine corridors. Unlike the ruins they had been studying on Earth, everything here functioned perfectly. Lights activated as they approached and dimmed as they passed. Hidden scanners tracked their movements. "How old is this facility?" asked Bomi, her eyes darting everywhere, trying to absorb every detail. "This vessel was completed in the Earth year 2198, replied the hologram without turning. "It has been maintained at optimal functionality since activation." "That's over 500 years of continuous operation," whispered Minji. "The power requirements alone should be impossible." They entered a vast circular chamber. The walls were lined with data terminals, and at the center stood a holographic projection system far more advanced than anything the Conclave possessed. The hologram gestured to the terminals. "You may access historical archives related to the preservation protocol. Weapons systems and stasis location data remain classified." Doyum moved immediately to the nearest terminal, his specialized appendages already interfacing with the unfamiliar system. The others spread out around the room, each finding a station. "The records are extensive," said Doyun after several minutes, scanning through the data Aegis had granted them access to. Humanity's scientific advancement accelerated dramatically in their final decades. Director Hyuk approached, peering over Doyun's shoulder at the scrolling information. What happened to them? Why did they disappear? Humanity faced extinction from a cosmic threat, some kind of radiation wave from a nearby stellar event. Doyum continued, his voice growing more excited as he pieced together the story. They detected it 50 years before impact. They knew they couldn't escape, not their entire population. So they just gave up? Asked Commander June, who had insisted on joining the expedition after the initial contact. "No," said Minji from across the room. "Look at this." She activated the center holographic system, which suddenly displayed a 3-dimensional schematic of Earth and its surrounding defense network. They prepared. The hologram showed layer upon layer of defensive systems, orbital platforms, lunar bases, asteroid outposts, and what appeared to be massive underground facilities on Earth itself. Director Hyuk examined the holographic display showing the defense network. So instead of fleeing, they built all this. An autonomous defense system to protect an empty planet. "Not just to protect," said Minji, looking up from another terminal. "To remember." Aegis wasn't just programmed to defend. It was given humanity's core values, their history, their culture. It's preserving their legacy. She pulled up another file that displayed the Aegis core directives. 1. Protect. Defend Earth and Sol system until human return becomes possible. 2. Preserve. Maintain all human knowledge, genetic samples, and cultural records. 3. Repair. When safe, begin restoration of ecosystem and preparation for reawakening. 4. Persist. Survive at all costs to fulfill primary mission. It's not just a defense system, Minji said softly. It's a caretaker. Sunwoo, the team's military analyst, studied the technical specifications with growing concern. Director, these weapon systems, they're far beyond current galactic standards. If Aegis decided to deploy them offensively. He didn't need to finish the thought. The schematics showed weaponry that could easily outmatch anything the Galactic Council races had developed. What about the humans themselves? Asked Thuk, turning to the holographic interface. Where are they? The hologram's face remained impassive. That information remains classified. Suffice to say they are preserved. Cryogenic stasis. Press June. Your terminology is primitive, but essentially correct, replied the interface. When the cosmic radiation event passes, restoration protocols will be initiated. And when will that be? Asked Minji. The radiation wave will have dissipated to safe levels in approximately 2,800 more years. The team exchanged glances. Humanity had created a guardian to watch over them for thousands of years, patiently waiting for the day they could return. There's something else here, said Do-Yun suddenly, his voice tense. The activation protocols. Aegis wasn't supposed to awaken fully until the radiation threat had passed. It's only partially active now because it detected threats to Earth. The mining operations, said Hyuk, understanding dawning. Not just mining, Do-Yun corrected. Look at these atmospheric readings from Earth. There are industrial pollutants present that weren't there 50 years ago, when the Conclave first surveyed the system. Someone's been harvesting resources from Earth itself. Asked June incredulously. Who would be foolish enough to touch a quarantined world? A drone approached, its synthetic voice cutting through their discussion. The defense network was designed to protect humanity's home until their potential return. Your species and others have violated this sanctuary. Rectification is required. Fuck felt a chill run through his body. What do you mean by rectification? The holographic interface answered instead. All unauthorized installations will be removed. All extracted resources must be returned or compensated for. All damage to Earth's ecosystem must be repaired. That's impossible, sputtered June. Resources have been harvested from this system for centuries. You can't expect. The alternative is system-wide purge of all non-human elements, interrupted the interface, its tone unchanged but somehow more menacing. Aegia's primary protocols permit no compromise on the protection of human interests. Throughout the solar system, scout ships were already deploying from the awakened fleet. On the main holographic display, the team watched as dozens of sleek vessels moved toward planets, moons, and asteroid belts where alien mining operations had been established. You need to understand the current galactic situation, said Hyuk quickly. The Galactic Council oversees hundreds of species. Forceful actions against legitimate operations, however unwelcome they may be in this system, could trigger a war. War is an acceptable outcome if required to fulfill primary directives, stated the interface. But humanity wouldn't want that, argued Minji. They wouldn't want to wake up to a galaxy at war because of them. The interface paused, its glowing form flickering slightly. Explain your reasoning. Minji stepped toward the hologram. You said Aegis contains humanity's core values. Surely peace and cooperation were among them. They built you to preserve life, not to destroy it. For several long moments, the interface was silent. The drone that had approached them earlier remained motionless. Accessing human ethical frameworks, it finally said. Analyzing historical decision matrices. Your argument has merit. The tension in the room eased slightly. A proposal will be formulated, continued the interface. The Galactic Council will acknowledge Sol system as sovereign human territory. All unauthorized resource extraction will cease. Compensation for past extraction will be negotiated. In exchange, Aegis will not initiate offensive operations against Council worlds. That sounds reasonable, said Hook, careful not to show too much relief. I believe the Council would be willing to discuss such terms. The interface's form shifted, becoming more defined, more human-like. There is one more condition. The Conclave will share all knowledge of current galactic affairs, technology, and politics. Aegis must be prepared to advise humanity when they awaken. When they awaken, the galaxy will be a very different place, said Minji softly. Yes, agreed the interface, and they will need friends. Outside the archive chamber, through the ship's massive viewport, Earth turned slowly below them, blue, green, and white, preserved exactly as humanity had left it, waiting patiently for its children to return home. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council gleamed with polished stone and metal. Representatives from 200 species filled the tiered seats, their voices creating a constant murmur that echoed off the vaulted ceiling. Emergency sessions were rare, and this one had been called with only 12 hours' notice. Many delegates had traveled through the night to attend. At the center of the chamber stood a circular platform where speakers addressed the council. Right now, Representative Wujin of the mining consortium paced the platform, his reptilian features twisted with anger. This is outrageous, bellowed Wujin, his tail lashing behind him as he addressed the assembled delegates. These automated systems have no claim to the Sol system. The humans are gone. Their civilization is extinct. Their planets and resources are open to legal claim by council races, as they have been for centuries. Murmurs of agreement rose from the corporate alliance section, where many resource extraction companies held seats. Several delegates pounded their appendages on their desks in support. High Counselor Yuna, the elected head of the Galactic Council, raised her hand for silence. Her crystalline body structure caught the light as she moved, sending rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. The situation is unprecedented, she said, her voice calm but carrying to every corner of the vast room. Reports indicate this Aegis system has already disabled 3 mining operations and established a defensive perimeter around the entire system. They attacked legally registered operations, shouted another corporate representative. Without casualties, added Security Chief Jinwoo, rising from his seat in the military section. His uniform displayed the many medals of his long career. The ship's council members, she began, I have communicated directly with Aegis. It has reviewed our historical records and understands that the Galactic Council did not exist during humanity's time. It is willing to negotiate terms, but its primary directive remains unchanged. Earth and the Sol system must be protected as humanity's legacy. Negotiate, scoffed Wujin, his scales darkening with anger. With a machine. A machine that commands a fleet more powerful than our combined forces. Jinwoo reminded him grimly. Our military assessment suggests we would not survive an all-out conflict. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity, thought to be a footnote in galactic history, had left behind guardians that now held the power to reshape the balance of the galaxy. High Counselor Yuna broke the silence. Dr. Minji, what exactly does Aegis want? And what evidence do we have that humans still exist in some form? Minji nodded to Director Hook, who activated his datapad. The central hologram changed to show images from the Aegis archives, detailed schematics of stasis chambers and preservation systems. Aegis was created to protect Earth until humanity could return, explained Minji. They faced an extinction-level threat, a cosmic radiation wave that would make their solar system uninhabitable for thousands of years, rather than attempt to evacuate their entire population, which would have been impossible with their technology at the time. They chose to enter stasis. They built Aegis to protect them until the danger passed. Convenient that we can't verify these supposed humans in stasis, grumbled Wujin. For all we know, they're already extinct, and this AI is operating on outdated parameters. Aegis has offered to allow a small delegation to view one of the stasis facilities, countered Minji. With appropriate security measures, of course. This statement caused a new wave of murmurs across the chamber. Actual preserved humans would change everything. As for Aegis's terms, continued Minji, they are straightforward. The Sol system is to be recognized as sovereign human territory. All unauthorized mining and resource extraction must cease immediately. Compensation for resources already taken will be negotiated. Compensation, sputtered a Voral representative. To whom? And I. To the humans when they awaken, Minji replied calmly. Which Aegis projects will happen in approximately 2,800 years, when the radiation wave has passed. Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. They expect us to honor claims from a species that won't even exist for another 3 millennia, called out a delegate from the back. High Counselor Yuna raised her hand again. Let us be practical. Whether humans currently exist in stasis or not, Aegis clearly does exist, and it controls formidable military power. Chief Jinwoo, please share your tactical assessment. Jinwoo stepped onto the platform, his expression grave. We have analyzed the capabilities of the vessels Aegis has revealed so far. Their technology exceeds our current military standards by a significant margin. Their weapon systems appear to utilize principles we have only theoretical knowledge of. Most concerning, they have demonstrated the ability to bypass our best shielding technology. He activated a new hologram showing one of the Aegis warships. Based on energy readings, we believe each capital ship carries enough firepower to neutralize an entire battle group. And we've counted at least 200 such vessels, with more still emerging from lunar bases. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. You suggest surrender, then? Asked a military delegate, her voice thick with disgust. I suggest diplomacy, corrected Jinwoo. Aegis has shown restraint. It disabled our operations without casualties. It is willing to communicate. These are not the actions of a mindless destroyer. Minji stepped forward again. Aegis has also expressed interest in learning about the current state of the galaxy. It wishes to understand the species that now inhabit it, your technologies, your cultures. It sees its role not just as a protector, but as a bridge between humanity's past and the future they will awaken to. And if we refuse its terms? Asked Wujin, though his voice had lost some of its earlier force. It was very clear, said Minji quietly. It will remove all non-human presence from the Sol system by whatever means necessary. The implications hung in the air. Billions of credits in mining equipment and infrastructure would be lost. And if military forces were sent in response, there is another option, suggested Director Hyuk, speaking for the first time. We could see this not as a crisis, but as an opportunity. Humanity created technology that has functioned flawlessly for centuries. Their preservation methods, their energy systems, their AI development, all of these could provide valuable insights for our own civilizations. You suggest we befriend this machine? Asked the counselor skeptically. I suggest we respect its purpose, replied Hyuk, and in doing so, perhaps gain access to knowledge that would otherwise be lost. High Counselor Yuna considered this for a moment, then turned to address the full council. This situation is without precedent. A supposedly extinct species has left behind not just ruins, but an active guardian with significant military capability. We must weigh our response carefully. She turned to Minji. Tell Aegis we accept its offer to view the human stasis facility. We will send a small delegation of council representatives, and we are open to discussing terms regarding the status of the Sol system. This is weakness, protested Wujin. This is wisdom, countered Yuna firmly. We face an entity that could potentially destroy our combined fleets. It asks only for the protection of one star system out of billions in our galaxy. Sometimes, Representative Wujin, the wisest course of action is to acknowledge when you are outmatched. As the council session continued with procedural details, Minji stepped away from the platform and approached Director Cook. "Do you think they understand what this really means?" she asked quietly. Huck's outer membrane rippled thoughtfully. "That in 3,000 years, humanity will reawaken to find a galaxy transformed. That the species they never met will have been negotiating with their guardian for millennia. No, I don't think they fully grasp it yet." "Neither do I," admitted Minji, looking back at the arguing council members. "But I think Aegis does. It's playing a very long game." Outside the council chamber, beyond the gleaming spires of the galactic capital, the stars shone coldly. Among them, Sol was just one point of light, unremarkable except for the slumbering species it sheltered, and the patient guardian that had just announced their continued relevance to a galaxy that had thought them long gone. The diplomatic vessel gleamed silver against the darkness of space as it approached Earth's orbit. Unlike the research ship that had first discovered the awakening defense network, this vessel carried representatives from 12 major galactic species. 6 escort ships from the Galactic Council's peacekeeping force flanked it, though everyone aboard knew they were merely for ceremony. The real protection came from the Aegis drones that surrounded them. Sleek, deadly machines that moved with perfect precision. Director Huck stood at the main viewport, watching as the blue planet grew larger. In the month since Aegis had awakened, his life had transformed completely. From a simple archaeological expedition leader, he had become the Galactic Council's official ambassador to an eye that guarded an ancient civilization. "It's beautiful," he said softly, his 4 eyes taking in Earth's swirling clouds and vast oceans. "They chose a lovely world to call home." High Counselor Yuna stood beside him, her crystalline form reflecting the blue light from the planet. "Let us hope this visit brings understanding rather than further complications." "We're receiving a transmission," announced Minji from her station on the bridge. The xenobiologist had also been promoted, now serving as the science liaison between Aegis and the Council. Aegis's familiar symbol appeared on the main screen, pulsing gently with each word. "A proceed to Kugo or DNATs." Chief Security Officer Jinwoo studied the navigation data as it appeared. "These coordinates are on Earth itself. Northern Hemisphere, mountainous region. Aegis is taking us to one of the preservation facilities," said Huck, feeling a flutter of excitement in his membrane. "This is unprecedented trust." The vessel began its descent through Earth's atmosphere, guided by invisible forces. Below them stretched vast forests, untouched by development for centuries. Wildlife thrived in the absence of human activity. Herds of large mammals moved across plains, and birds scattered as the ship passed overhead. "No wonder Aegis was upset about unauthorized mining," murmured Yuna. "They've kept this world pristine for their creator's return." The ship approached a mountain range, slowing as it neared a particularly tall peak. To the naked eye, there was nothing special about this mountain. Just rock and forest and snow. But as they grew closer, a section of the mountainside shimmered and seemed to dissolve, revealing a massive hangar door built seamlessly into the rock. "Incredible camouflage technology," said Jinwoo. "No wonder our scans never detected these facilities." The ship was guided into a vast chamber carved into the heart of the mountain. As the exterior doors sealed behind them, lights activated automatically, illuminating a space large enough to hold dozens of vessels their size. The delegation members gathered at the viewports, various appendages pressed against the glass as they stared in wonder. "Look at the construction," said Bomi, who had joined the diplomatic team as a technical advisor. "No seams, no joins. It's as if they carved this entire facility from a single piece of stone." When the ship landed and the delegation disembarked, they found themselves not in a cold stone cavern, but in a pristine facility that looked as if it had been built yesterday. Smooth white corridors led deeper into the mountain, lit by soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. "We're being invited to proceed," said Hook, noting the subtle patterns in the floor lighting that directed them forward. The corridor opened into a vast circular chamber, and there, the alien delegation stood in awe before rows of preservation chambers, thousands of them, extending in every direction as far as they could see. Each chamber was a sleek pod of gleaming metal and crystal, with status displays showing vital signs and power levels. Inside, barely visible through frosted surfaces, were human figures, men, women, and children, all perfectly preserved in suspended animation. Human genetic material, whispered Minji, scanning the containers with her handheld device. And data storage, massive amounts. These appear to be consciousness imprints. They backed up their minds, asked Jinwoo incredulously. A redundancy measure, came a voice from behind them. The delegation turned to see a holographic figure materializing in the center of the chamber. Humanoid in appearance, but clearly an interface for Aegis. Unlike its previous manifestations, this form was more detailed, resembling an older human male wearing what might have been a scientific uniform from humanity's final era. Humanity predicted the possibility of their extinction. It explained, its voice warmer and more natural than in previous communications. I was created not only to defend, but to preserve. When conditions allow, I am authorized to begin restoration protocols. These are all living humans, asked Yuna, moving closer to one of the chambers. How many? This facility contains 12,843 preserved individuals, replied the Aegis interface. There are 16 similar facilities around Earth, and smaller ones on Luna and Mars. In total, approximately 250,000 humans were preserved. Not their entire population, noted Hook. No, acknowledged Aegis. Earth supported over 10 billion humans at peak population. Only volunteers with specific skills were preserved. Scientists, engineers, artists, teachers, those who could rebuild civilization if necessary. Jinwoo studied the chambers with a military strategist's eye, and the rest. The billions not preserved. They chose to live out their remaining time before the radiation wave arrived, said Aegis. They knew what was coming. They faced it with dignity. A somber mood fell over the delegation as they contemplated this. Billions had accepted their fate, while ensuring their species would have a second chance. Huck stepped forward. Aegis, the Galactic Council acknowledges your authority in this system. We propose a treaty, recognizing Earth as sovereign territory under your protection, with all resource harvesting to cease immediately. In exchange, added Jinwoo, we offer alliance and assistance. The galaxy has changed since humanity's time. They would need allies if they were to return. The hologram considered this for a long moment, its form shifting slightly as if Aegis was processing the proposal through multiple subroutines. Terms accepted, with conditions, it finally said. Knowledge of humanity will be shared with worthy species. Their legacy will be remembered. And when the time comes for their return, the galaxy will know they never truly left. When might that be? Asked Yuna. Your earlier communications mentioned thousands of years before the radiation threat passes. Aegis's hologram walked toward one of the preservation chambers, studying the human within. That was the original timeline. However, galactic conditions have changed. Your species have developed technologies that might mitigate the radiation effects. Working together, we might accelerate the timeline significantly. Minji looked up from her scanner in surprise. You're proposing a collaborative effort to wake them sooner. Humanity would not wish to sleep through millennia of potential discovery and growth, said Aegis. They built me to protect them, yes, but also to use judgment, to adapt as circumstances changed. The hologram turned to face the delegation. I have monitored your council's debates. I have analyzed your histories. Despite conflicts and disagreements, your species have built something humanity dreamed of but never achieved, a galactic community. Not without flaws, admitted Yuna. No creation is flawless, agreed Aegis, but it has potential. and humanity would be honored to eventually join it, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as equals. A soft hum began to fill the chamber. Status lights on several of the preservation units changed from blue to green. "What's happening?" asked Fuck, his membrane tightening with alarm. "A gesture of trust," said Aegis. "I am initiating revival protocols for a small group, a team of diplomatic and scientific advisors who can help prepare for humanity's broader return." One by one, the preservation chambers began their revival sequences. Monitoring systems showed vital signs strengthening as the ancient machines gently brought their occupants back from their centuries-long sleep. "Today," said Aegis, "humanity takes its first step back into a galaxy that thought them lost forever. They will need guides, teachers, allies." The interface looked directly at Director Fuck. "Will you help them understand what their home has become in their absence?" Fuck felt the weight of history pressing upon him. His simple archaeological expedition had uncovered not just artifacts, but living history, a species poised to rejoin the galactic community after centuries of absence. "We will," he promised. Inside the first chamber, a human woman's eyes opened slowly. She blinked, adjusting to light she hadn't seen in 5 centuries. As awareness returned to her features, she noticed the aliens watching her, species humanity had never encountered, never even imagined. And she smiled. Humanity's story wasn't over, it had merely paused. And the galaxy would never be the same. The end.